Ivan Putski is known as the Polish Power, which makes sense. You take one look at the guy and you know that he's all-powerful. Jesse Ventura is known as the Body, which also makes sense because he's got a fantastic body. So what happens when you put two of these strong men into the same room together? Well, chances are the conversation is going to come down to who of the two is more powerful. Tonight we're going to find out whether it's the Polish Power or the Body. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Tyler Vance Rants. I am your host, Tyler Vance himself. It is July 28, 1984. Last week, Brian Adidas and Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer exchanged a war of words. NWA Television Champion Tully Blanchard successfully defended his championship and $10,000. Kamala wandered from Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling all the way up to the WWF, and Jimmy Superfly Snuka's son sent a letter to Rowdy Roddy Piper begging the Hot Rod not to beat up his dad anymore. With so much going on in the National Wrestling Alliance at the moment, we're going to tune into Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling first this week, where Bob Caudle is calling the action of a tag team match between Pistol Pez Whatley and Brian Adidas against Bobby Bass and Doug Vines. Bass and Vines cannot stand up to the quality and athleticism that their opponents bring to the ring, and so they fall fast to a clothesline from the pistol. From there, we head backstage, where the first guest of Bob Caudle's tonight for an interview is the former NWA United States Heavyweight Champion, Chief Wahoo McDaniel. And as if to rub salt in the wounds of the Chief, Caudle himself is holding the vacated NWA United States Heavyweight Championship belt and reminds everybody that it has indeed been stripped from the Chief and vacated. Thanks, Captain Obvious. Very helpful. Caudle is still shocked that Chief Wahoo McDaniel took advantage of a man well down in Ricky Steamboat and won the United States Heavyweight Championship despite Tully Blanchard's interference in that match. This is professional wrestling. What did you expect Chief Wahoo McDaniel to do, Caudle? Stand there like an idiot? Why don't you stick to commentary and leave the wrestling tactics to the wrestlers? Chief McDaniel says that he is still, despite not being the United States Heavyweight Champion anymore, #1 contender to the NWA World Heavyweight Championship.
I'm the U.S. champion now. I don't care what you say. I'm the #1 contender.
And if anybody doubts that or goes against that claim, clearly they are under the thumb of Jim Crockett Jr.'s bias, corruption, and bribery, and cannot be trusted.
Jimmy Crockett, I know you're behind it.
The Boogie Woogie Maniac Jimmy Valiant takes on Beach Boy Harper in singles competition next. And when the bell rings, Valiant is all over the Beach Boy, which is unsurprising considering that Jimmy Valiant is a beach bum. A sleeper hold is enough to put Harper away for the win. Chief Wahoo McDaniel takes on Sam Houston one-on-one following that match, and immediately Houston is tossed outside of the ring by the Chief, who follows his opponent outside of the ring before slamming Sam's head into the ring post. At this time, Tully Blanchard joins guest commentary because seemingly he sensed that Bob Caudle is under the influence of the Crockett's and came to salvage the situation and talk some sense into Bob. Once back in the ring, Chief Wahoo McDaniel goes to work and begins to wear Sam Houston down, and it's not long before a catapult suplex secures him the 1-2-3. Backstage once more, Bob Caudle has the winners of the very first match this week in Brian Adidas and Pistol Pez Whatley for complimenting the duo on their victory at the beginning of the show. Then, Caudle wants to know what Brian Adidas said last week about Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer.
So they stick me in the ring. I don't know too much, you know?
You don't have to tell me, Brian. I can tell already that you are all brawn and no brain. Adidas says that he has not forgotten that shoulder injury that he received all those years ago from Sawyer down when they competed in Florida. Why are you taking it so personally? This is professional wrestling and mistakes happen. Right, my bad. You're not that right. I apologize. Should we dumb things down a little bit there for you, Running Shoe? Whatley then hijacks the microphone and begins to shout out and call out any name that he can think of in the Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling locker room, without any clear objective in mind other than stirring the pot. Before we move on to the next match, Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer is accompanied by his manager Paul Jones to take on Keith loser Larsen in the next match. And as soon as the bell rings, the Mad Dog viciously mauls Larsen. Keith is caught in a power slam before he's mercifully put down by Buzz Sawyer. In the ring, backstage. In the ring, backstage. Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling is following a pattern this week, so if you guessed that following the last match we have another interview, you'd be right. This time Bob Caudle is speaking to one of the men that we just saw, Paul Jones, along with another of his clients in Assassin Number 1. Jones practically begs the NWA to step in and control the Boogie Woogie maniac Jimmy Valiant's behavior before it's too late, and Valiant himself is wiped from the history books of professional wrestling.
Valiant has to be stopped, and what he gets away with.
Trust me, Mr. Jones, I've tried begging, I've tried pleading with the NWA suits, but they only understand one thing: money. All you can do is bribe them, and not even that is a guarantee. The NWA World Tag Team Champions, Don Kernodle, Ivan Koloff, and his nephew Nikita Koloff are taking on another team in six-man action against the Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion Angelo Mosca Jr., Rufus R. Freight Train Jones, and Tom Shaft, who seems to be ripping off Hulk Hogan's red and yellow attire. Jones, Mosca Jr., and Shaft all take turns trying to wear the Pride of the Carolinas down, while the Koloffs look on calmly. It's going to take a lot more than what you're doing to do any kind of damage to the World Tag Team Champions, you clowns. Nikita Koloff then gets tagged in, and he begins to move through the opposition like a Mack truck in heavy traffic. The teams then go through frequent tags, trying to one-up another as the match progresses. Ivan Koloff is the one that gets the advantage, and he drives Tom Shaft's head down into the mat with his knee, and that is all that she wrote. See, they had it in the bag the entire time, and they were nice enough to allow their opponents to think maybe that they had a chance. What gentlemen! Paul Jones is backstage once again with Bob Caudle, but this time he's brought Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer with him. Watch that your fingers don't get too close to the Mad Dog's mouth when you put the microphone up to it there, Bob. Jones says that Sawyer has won the hearts and minds of everybody in the audience thanks to his guts and determination in the ring. Yep, that's exactly how he won me over. Not because he scares the crap out of me. No, definitely not. No, sir. Sawyer then barks that if anybody thinks that they're tough enough to go up against him,
Anybody on the face of this green earth, come and look up the Mad Dog!
Caudle then mentions Brian Adidas, which sparks Buzz Sawyer to begin howling even more violently than he already was.
Brian Adidas, what does Buzz Sawyer say to Brian Adidas?
Paul Jones then steps in and says that no matter who it is that thinks that they can get the better of the Mad Dog, or his army in general, his soldiers will always come out on top. The NWA Television Championship is up for grabs once again. After last week's grueling defense against Sam Houston, Tully Blanchard defends his championship in the main event of Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling this week against Bret Hart. Remember that Blanchard has pumped up the normal 15-minute time limit to 20, as well put $10,000 of his own money on the line to whomever can beat him for the television championship. Can Hart be the one to do it? Bret Hart has proven himself in both the NWA and the WWF, and he goes into this match with a head full of confidence. However, time is on the champion's side, and he uses a number of delaying tactics to frustrate the challenger. The constant delays begin to play on Bret's head, and frustration eventually does get the better of him, which plays right into the game plan of Tully Blanchard. All Hart can manage against the champion is a 2 count, before his head is nearly taken off with a guillotine. After that, All Tully Blanchard has to do is put Bret Hart into a catapult suplex, and once again, Blanchard walks away with his $10,000 and still the NWA Television Champion. We head backstage to do some rapid-fire interviews with Bob Caudle, and guest number one is public enemy number one, the Boogie Woogie Maniac, Jimmy Valiant.
I've never started a fight in my life, but I have finished off a lot of them.
It's because you're too stupid to lose. Finally, Valiant speaks some sense and addresses the Take Fist match challenge outlined by Assassin number one, saying that he knows the Assassin has never lost that type of match, but Valiant is going into it prepared as he can anyways. Rufus R. Freight Train Jones is next, and he says that anything that Jimmy Valiant does, he'll do too.
Because Jimmy Valiant need any kind of help at all, Rufus Jones will back him up all the way.
Thanks for the insight. Next! Last up is NWA Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion Angelo Mosca Jr., who white knights for his friend Brian Running Shoe Adidas and takes a shot at Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer.
He's a little bit out of control, a little bit out of rage. You might say the man's possessed, he doesn't think what he does.
That's just who he is, you moron. Exotic Adrian Street then comes out and tries to show Teacher his drawing, but no one has time for that, nor do they care. So it's time to tune into the WWF and its flagship show, Championship Wrestling. Vince McMahon and Tony are once more again on commentary as the show begins, and the first match that they are going to be calling is between Rene Goulet and WWF Intercontinental Champion Tito Santana. Santana gets the non-title match off to a fast start and keeps things quick in between holds that wear Goulet down. However, a rough knee from Goulet turns the tide in the Frenchman's behavior, and he's then able to get several near falls over Tito Santana. Goulet even almost gets a submission victory with the claw. However, the crowd firmly gets behind the Intercontinental Champion, which empowers Tito Santana to come back fast and win with a flying forearm. Have you given some thought into who the stronger man is between the Polish Power Ivan Putski and Jesse the Body Ventura? That's okay. You don't have to waste your brain cells on thinking, because I'll tell you, it's clearly Jesse the Body Ventura. If you don't believe me yet, what's wrong with you? You should just believe everything that I say, because I'm always right. But I knew you'd doubt me, so I brought some proof. The Polish Power and the Body go head-to-head in a wrestling match. An arm wrestling match. Mind games begin to get into Ivan Putski's head as Jesse Ventura takes his time getting into position. But once he does, Putski then tries to pull the same tactic. Stop wasting time, Ivan. Once both men finally get locked up, the Body has the clear advantage, and it's only a matter of time before the Polish Power runs out of juice. Putski is all bark and no bite. Putski, to his credit, does mount a comeback. However, winning this farce of an arm wrestling match was never in Jesse Ventura's itinerary. Instead, it was all a ruse to ensure that Ivan Putski was as vulnerable as possible so that the Body could body Putski. A steel chair puts the Polish Power out of action. And hopefully, that's the last we'll ever see of Ivan. Look, once again, all of you doubters have egg on your face because I, Tyler Vance, am right and always on the mark. The Iron Sheik takes on Ron Hutchinson in singles competition next.
World Wrestling Federation athletes. However, again, a lot of
Canadians, yes! Canada number one! Canada number one! A nasty gutbuster ends Hutchinson's aspirations before Ron falls shortly after to the Iron Sheik's camel clutch. The main event of WWF Championship Wrestling sees Tiger Chung Lee take on Jimmy Superfly Snuka. And hopefully Snuka's son doesn't start sending letters to Lee begging the South Korean, please don't hurt my dad. To his credit, Snuka does seem a little bit more energized than he has recently, but Tiger Chung Lee manages to still keep pace. The pair spend some time going back and forth. However, that changes permanently when the Superfly catches Lee on the top rope. Then it's Jimmy Snuka's turn to go up to the top rope, and he secures a diving headbutt win as WWF Championship Wrestling and the week comes to an end. In the NWA Television Champion Tully Blanchard, for a second week in a row, successfully defended his television championship, this time against Bret Hart. Paul Jones begged the NWA to do something about the out-of-control behavior of the Boogie Woogie Maniac Jimmy Valiant, who also turned his attention to Assassin Number 1 and their upcoming taped fist match challenge. In the WWF, my fellow Canadians urged the Iron Sheik onto victory over Ron Hutchinson, while Jesse the Body Ventura not only overpowered the Polish power Ivan Putski, but outsmarted him too. There is more to being a professional wrestler than just looks and strength alone. Sure, you can win a lot of matches by brute strength, but you can win even more when you throw some strategy in there. Why do you think that brawny men like Buzz Sawyer and the Iron Sheik always seem to have a manager with them? It's to substitute the brawn with some intelligence as well. Fortunately for Jesse Ventura, both brawn and brains come naturally to the body, and that's why he is so successful. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Tyler Vance Rants. Did you know that you could use your brawn to click the like button, hit the bell, and subscribe? And did you know that you can use your intelligence to also follow me on social media? It's okay if you didn't, because that's why I'm here. I'll see you next week. So long for now. Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer. What the? Did you know that you can use your brawn to click the button? What button?